You know the cartoon Tom and Jerry? There's a high stakes game of cat and mouse every day. The cat is a genius hacker. Little Jerry, that's your company's sensitive data. Welcome to the world of threat intelligence and threat hunting. This is Intellectual Point. We help you get a high earning job in tech. In this digital battlefield, cyber threats are evolving faster than a teenager's TikTok page. Companies need superheroes like you to detect hidden attackers before they cause chaos. By understanding the tactics of these cyber villains, you can stay one step ahead and save the day. Meet the heroes: cyber threat intelligence analysts who are like digital detectives, SOC analysts who monitor networks like a hawk, and certified ethical hackers, penetration testers who play the role of good guys to test defenses. But what happens when threat hunting fails? Just ask Target. In 2013, hackers used a third-party vendor's credentials to steal 40 million credit card numbers. A strong threat intelligence team could have spotted this plot earlier and prevented hackers from installing malware. For more, I'll hand things off to Intellectual Point instructor Richard Parker.
So threat hunting is not like I'm monitoring the network looking for any type of threat or attack. It takes the posture or the mindset that the bad guy's already here. My security tools didn't pick him up. He's here, and now I got to find him. So it's a different mindset. It's very proactive as opposed to, most security is reactive. So we're going to take the position and that they're already here. So what are we going to do? We're going to assume they've already breached my network, right? That mentality is, okay, they're here. I don't see them yet, but I need to find them. So I'm going to begin to analyze network traffic. I want to begin to look at every packet and what's happening. Does that look normal? Do I see any spikes in traffic or any of those things? Threat hunting begins with this. We typically will go out to like the ISAC sharing centers and figure out, as well as looking at live threat feeds of what's happening right now in the wild. Does that affect me? I'll give you an example. Just this morning, there was a post put out that there was a vulnerability within Sonic Wall systems where the access point portion of that firewall was being used to spread ransomware. That's right now, today, in the wild. And I have a couple of them deployed. So I made a phone call and had somebody go check the versions. And of course, we don't have that vulnerability, but there's some that do. But I felt the need. Yes, we need to go look. And that's what this is all about. So with threat hunting, we're going out to different threat feeds. We're looking at places like the Hacker News Network, those type of blogs, because we want to see in real time what's happening right now in the world, right? Who might be wanting to attack me? Once I know that, I want to begin to study that threat actor. How do they maneuver? How do they move? What type of exploits are they using? What's their favorite techniques? So I want to use those to try to figure out what they do. And then I'm going to look for evidence within the logs, right? Remember I said the indicator of compromise is a log file. I have a record. It's behind me. It's something in the past. That indicator of attack is present. It's right now. It's ongoing. And I see it happening, okay? We want to search for the bad guy. And honestly, we're not actively pinging. We're not making any moves that would alert them. We're very, very quietly, slowly checking different things. And what we're doing is we're circling, if you will, to try to surround them and cut off their egress once we found them. And we're doing that in a very sneaky and sly way, very quietly. Now, threat hunting is time consuming and it's expensive. Just going to be honest. So unless your organization has a big full-blown security operations center, probably not happening. But if you do have a security operations center, that's what some of those analysts get paid for every day. That's what they do, right? They're hunting that stuff as well as what's happening active, okay? Now, what could be some of those indicators? Well, I'm going to look at log files right off the bat. And I'm going to use network monitoring software. Now, there's a lot of different software out there. I could use like Glasswire, which is a bandwidth monitor. I could use NetFlow, which is Cisco proprietary on the networking side, or I could use open source as flow. Those will build me, i.e., a flow record, basically the conversations at the packet level, okay? And that's what I will be examining. Several different types of software to do those things. I can use endpoint protection tools where, and I'm going to have antivirus, anti-malware, but I may even have some other things deployed, right? Like endpoint detection and response. So that's a security system that's tied to a scan engine, only it's on the endpoint where I've deployed an agent software that's monitoring everything that endpoint device does. And when things are outside of that, then it will take some type of action. And then, of course, my SIEM systems. So SIEM systems, security information and event management. These things are amazing systems. They incorporate both IDS and IPS. So I'm going to have Snort and Saracata. I'm going to have the SIEM system. It might be Wazoo or it might be some other vendor, Alienware, a lot of different vendors out there, right, for SIEM systems. And those dashboards are highly customizable to see what I need to see, what's important to me. Now, what do these things do for me? They aggregate all of the logs together, meaning they pull the logs from everything, every router, every switch, every desktop, every printer, every voice over IP phone, every server. All those logs are pulled into one central location, most commonly syslog. From there, the SIEM system will then correlate like events. And what they literally will do is put together that conversation as it crossed interface to interface to interface to interface. Now, what it can show me, right? So I might have something that happens on a desktop and it's odd, wasn't really super bad. It took note of it, logged it. And then something happens over here and then over here and then over here. Each one of those events in and of themselves didn't mean anything. Didn't disrupt the systems, didn't shut them down. There's no major malware running around. It's just a little oddity something. But the SIEM system will pull all those little events together and kind of go, hey, there's a cliff ahead. If you keep going in this direction, you're going to jump right off the cliff and you're going to have a real problem. And that's what these SIEM systems do for me. It allows me to see the bigger picture. Now, I want to be able to provide a summary of malicious action, okay? So I'm using, different information out there for the things that I'm looking for and then be able to find it, right? These malicious actions. I also want to be able to identify any sources of the incident, i.e. root cause analysis, right? That's another term you'll hear. I need to find out when did it begin, how did it begin, where did it begin. So that's going to help me or inform me about how my response plan should go. I need to identify first and foremost what systems that I want to monitor, which pretty much I'm going to monitor everything. I need to identify which users and which accounts that I need to lock. Now, if I have an indicator of compromise, so for example, I have one person calls the help desk and says, hey, I don't know what's going on. I think I have a virus. Cool. Unplug it from the wall. Don't turn off the computer. Just reach over and pull that patch cable out of the wall. So the computer's still up, but I've cut you off of the network. If it's spread to more than one machine, I'm probably going to remote into the switch, shut down the uplinks to keep it from spreading to other subnets. So that's kind of really where I'm identifying which users and accounts to lock down until I get it under control. I want to describe security issues accurately so I can convey that message to someone else who may have to make some decisions. And I need to do it efficiently. In other words, if I go in to talk to the CEO or the CFO about we have a problem, I need some permissions to do some things, might even need finances. I do not need to go in there and start using a whole bunch of IT jargon. Well, they hit the max and the HMAX not doing this, and I don't need to do all that. Why? Because they have no idea what I'm talking about. They don't. Honestly, when I talk to executive level people, I talk to them very plainly, very succinctly, but I also speak to them probably like I'm talking to a 12 or a 13-year-old, right? I don't talk down to them. but I also don't try to talk way up here either. I need them to understand and internalize what's going on. So let me give you a little hint on that and kind of my approach. I've been married for 30 years. Whenever I wanted to purchase something that was going to cost a lot of money, like let's say a new truck. Well, if I just went out and bought a new truck, my life's going to be miserable because my wife would not have agreed with that. So my approach is to drop little hints until she internalizes it and then says, you should go buy a new truck. Is it a little manipulative and sneaky? Yeah, kind of. But it's the same way when you're dealing with trying to convey this information to department heads or, executives that really don't know. And I need them to internalize that. So I need to form it or phrase it in a way that's important to them, okay? And I want to protect my organization from future threats. Now, digital forensics. So applying threat hunting techniques many times will require using data that came from information sharing platforms, i.e. like ISACs, and it may contain field notes that were created by, i.e. incident responders. And basically, when you're doing any type of incident response, it may begin with the help desk ticket and then escalate up from there into a full-blown, response from a lot of people because we got a lot going on. Now, we take note of everything, right? Everything we try that works, as well as everything we tried that didn't work. Because in the future, we don't want to waste time. So that's kind of where these field notes come in and what's happening, right? Is you're going back to someone else's notes of what they found or did or whatever. Now, decoy, or i.e. active defense. This very much is a technique that is used in what we call a honeypot. A honeypot is a deliberately vulnerable server, okay? It's i.e. a decoy. Now, I'm not going to deploy that server just wide open. You're going to have to hack it, okay? No free lunch here, but I'm not going to make it so hard you can't, okay? I want you to hack it. And what you don't realize is that while you're hacking this fake server that you think you're in the data center, you're not. And I'm monitoring everything you do, okay? I want to see what your TTPs are. I want to see what exploits you're running, right? What's the script you're running? So I want to know, and I'm capturing all of that. We can also deploy what we call a honeynet, which is a bunch of these, right? Might be half a dozen of them deployed out in the demilitarized zone, all of them vulnerable on purpose, right? The whole point is I want to collect all the information about the bad guy and what he's doing. And at the same time, while he's out there playing and he thinks he's in my network, he's actually not, okay? It's very much about deception.
So, are you ready to join the League of Digital Defenders? Learn how to outsmart cyber criminals and protect organizations from devastating attacks. Join Intellectual Point's CYSA course and become the hero your company needs. Thanks for watching, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to help the algorithm help more people get high-paying jobs in tech.